Laid off, take time to travel. Hi, all. Early 40s male here in the US. I was laid off a few months ago. Company dissolution, not performance related. I received a decent severance and have been spending time with family, friends, and taking small trips. I am an avid traveler and had a growing urge to quit my job prior to the layoff to backpack around the world for 6 months or so. I've been making small steps towards this since the time I was laid off, but have also been very torn due to the rough current market and uncertainty about the future job search. I greatly appreciate perspectives on if this is a solid idea or a career killing crazy idea. I made $160,000 per year at my previous job and have 190,000 in savings. Hey, props to you. I'm a very budget traveler and would be budgeting about $2,000 per month to travel. Flights can largely be covered with miles. I live in a very high cost of living area and would ditch my rental apartment and throw everything in storage. I would start the job search process, giving recruiters a heads up, etc., in a very low cost of living area abroad towards the end of the trip. I need to hit the road or embrace job searching full time ASAP since I'm currently bleeding out rent and high cost of living expenses. Has anyone here done this? Any thoughts, perspectives would be greatly appreciated. So, if I was in this person's situation and my goal was his, where I would prefer to try to go on an adventure before going back into the career field, which, by the way, I mean, this isn't like a career killing thing. If your skills are good enough and if you plan accordingly, like take job interviews while you're doing all this at like night or something, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if I was in this situation with this amount of finances saved up and my goal was to basically go on a traveling trip or whatever, what I would do is I'd probably ask a family member that I could trust that would be okay with it if I could just leave stuff at their place to as storage in like a spare bedroom or garage or something or even a shed, right? Because you could buy like a super cheap shed and just stick things in there, which would save you a crazy amount of money. Or if they have a spare bedroom, stick it in there and you could save a crazy amount of money. And if you wanted to, you could basically maybe just offer them like a couple of bucks a month just as like a thank you, right? Because if they're able to solve that thing, that will free up a lot of money for you so that maybe you can focus more so on like covering health insurance, any sort of other type of insurance that you need to pay for, right? Could be a like dental as well. Just like basic things, right? That you could cover on a monthly basis. Probably also you really need to make sure that your phone is connected on a plan with a mobile hotspot too, just in case you need to use like a laptop that you have for like job job interviews as time goes on. But that's the way that I would do it, right? I would make certain that I could get my storage fees really cheap, basically non-existent, and also just have like a conversation with a family member saying like, "Hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. Are you okay with me just like stopping by here and there just to like rest my head before I go on like another trip or whatever?" And if you have someone close to you, and it doesn't even have to be a family member, it could be a friend, if they're kind enough to help you out in the situation, that's the route that I would take. But it shouldn't be hard to budget your money because I mean you got 190,000 in the bank. Like you could go a very long time on that money. but you want your money to go further. So find any type of way to actually save money. That's the route that I would go about it. But also, like every night, maybe when I'm like on the toilet or something, I'm gonna just be like job interviewing just so that I can like line something up for getting back into the workforce, right? Because you could take job interviews throughout the whole time, and when someone hires you, you could basically set it up to where you get hired a few months down the road. Like, hey, I'm able to work starting November, starting December, whatever. That's the route that you should go. So let's check out some of these comments from people. So this person says, "You just described me last year in my early 40s. I didn't travel, but was not working for about 6 months. I was also contemplating quitting months prior before it happened. I decided to get rid of everything that didn't fit in my car as storage or transportation fees were excessive. Nothing large I owned couldn't be replaced for less than 6 months storage fees anyway. Selling locally gave me a little extra money to spend as well. I can park my car at friends for free or at the airport in between travel. I was enjoying time away from work, burnout, but opportunity presented itself sooner than expected. I wasn't even looking, and here I am at work again, feeling refreshed. Good luck." Uh, yeah, see, like that's the kind of like that's the way that I'd basically have it. Basically, have your responsibilities, like physically speaking, property wise, right? Item wise, so minimal. Like live an extremely minimalistic life so that the expenses to store thing is basically nothing, right? And just go travel, enjoy your life, and then open up the new chapter of your life when you get another career going. So at 32 years old, I got laid off, so I threw all my stuff in a storage unit, gave my landlord a heads up I would be moving out, and spent 6 months bicycling across the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast and then back to the East Coast. 9,000 miles in total through 26 states. One hell of a trip. I laid low for a couple months over the holidays and then hiked the lower half of the Appalachian Trail in the spring. Then finally started job hunting. I'm an engineer, and every place I interviewed with afterwards, my trip was either a positive or a oh neat kind of thing. Go enjoy that once in a lifetime trip before you get too old. You have more than enough in savings. Yeah, I mean, like, think about it, right? Like, if he were to basically sell everything, have basically his expenses super low, and he basically has like a budget of about 2K per month, might need to be a little bit more than that to cover insurance, however much that is, so maybe like 2.5K. So let's say this. Okay, so you have $190,000, right? Divided by, let's say, $2,500 a month. That means you could go 76 months without getting a job, technically speaking, right? Like, that's how long, how many months your money could technically last for, right? But if you keep your expenses super low, this could last a lot longer than 76 months. And also, by the way, if you get some sort of side gig or side hustle on like your more not vacationy time, right? Maybe just like on the weekend or something, you end up doing like some sort of side hustle or you work part time doing something. Okay, that will extend these amount of months by a crazy amount, maybe to like over 100 months. So it's just something to think about. And by the way, you might be able to find a job or a career, mainly just like a job, that if you get your expenses super low, right? If you find maybe an apartment or a house that you could purchase for super low, right? Super cheap, very low cost of living, you could potentially just work part time and travel half of the time, right? Because I know that there's some jobs that exist or some people who do this. I heard a story about like a welder where like a welder would work like 4 to 6 months out of the year, and then all the other time is just free time because they literally made enough money in like 4 to 6 months to cover their living expenses for the whole year, right? So they're really only working like half the year max, which is a pretty amazing thing. And I think they were like clearing like six figures after tax, which is pretty nice. It's just something to think about, right? Like there's different routes to go about this whole personal finance thing. If you find a path that mathematically works, go ahead and do it, right? If you're able to cover your living expenses, save money, not get into debt, put money towards investments, that's really all that matters personal finance wise, and then go enjoy your life.